Alright guys, how you doing? Chris here with Armatan Quads. I think a lot of you guys, this video was for friends and foes on RC groups. A lot of guys have been asking questions about this model that we've been working on that I call the TiltR, designed by Andrew Mayer, who's also Mayday on RC groups. Well, I guess it is pretty much as usual with the designs that I've worked with Andrew about. And, you know, it's like 95% Andrew's work and about 5% my work. I come up with small things I ask him to change, maybe a little bit more input from me from time to time, but generally the the ideas that make the model effective are often coming from Andrew. Is just a fantastic designer, and this is a brilliant example of that. In fact, I think in terms of a design complexity, and it's definitely one of the most beautiful design that Andrew's come up with so far. And he's come a long way as a designer, and it really shows in this particular model. So let me just tell you a little bit about it, a few more things about it. On this model right now I put some T-motors to 208 by Armatan, and I've got 7-inch props on there. This is a 7-inch setup. You can actually cut the arms a little shorter, run 6-inch on that as well. Right, so you can run 7-inch or 6-inch. I built the 7-inch myself because I prefer having a bit more power. And then these over here are custom made clamps for the booms. And then if we look at the model, some of the very cool things that we integrated on this, if you look, we've got rubber bumpers where impact is likely to occur when when you crash or when you do barrel rolls or whatnot. We added these bumpers on the corners, and they actually serve as landing skids as well. So that's what you land on, is these little rubbers, and you don't see it, but below the rubber is actually a shape to the carbon fiber, and it's actually meant to fit on there and also be resilient to move back and forth. So it's not only anchored by the bolt that secures the rubber there, it's actually by design meant to stay on there nice and strong. Again, all designed by Andrew. This is 3D drawing here, which he incorporates with the 2D drawings of the plates to fit that together. And every time you design something, you get this, you put it together, and it just perfectly, it just fits beautifully. Likewise, over where the arms meet the vertical plates, what we've added is what I call a rubber grommet, large rubber grommet that goes around there, and they look like this. And they actually provide for 3 millimeters of absorption on this in case of an impact. So if you get a very big impact, you're not going to have issues with the vertical plates acting as a guillotine against the tube. Now, of course, on the other side of the plate, we've got the clamp itself, right, that holds that in place, and that part is not insulated from the rubber. But I feel, the way I'm looking at this, and there's just a little bit of give to this if you try and move it around, and to me it's just basically it's added strength, and it's also a nice look to it. It's a very nice finish. Like I've mentioned on RC groups, it's very much one of the most complete designs that we've come up with. At the end of the arms, we've got custom made end caps that are meant to have a hole in the middle. As you can see, the motor wires are running through the booms, and then on the inside of the booms we're running nano ESCs. With this particular build I used SN20s ESCs, and we've actually tested those ESCs with the T-motors now, and we've also tested them with the 2822 motors, doing full-on acrobatics on 3S and 4S, pushing them to the limit, and they're holding up very well, and they're working very well. And so it makes for a very clean build, because essentially in the whole middle section you've got no ESCs in the way. It's all nicely tucked inside the arms. One very nice feature about this model, something that I think Andrew did very well about, is managing to get this fitted so that we have the tilt mechanism for the camera, where you can tilt your camera up and down depending on your flying style, while having the entire thing protected in case you get into a crash. And he's managed to do that. And then with this is the GoPro application here. We have an extra plate for the small cam plate that would mount here, like so, where your cam would mount, your small cam. And again, this is attached to the part that tilts. So as you tilt the camera up and down, your cam will go up and down with it. Now you think, well, the cam is no longer protected now. This is sort of beyond the roll cage. Well, for guys who want to protect it, we're going to offer little, extra bumpers, essentially camera protectors, and it's going to mount as such on here. And therefore, when your camera is on the other side here, let me put that just about right, it is fully protected, again, within that roll cage. I don't know if we're able to look at that on a different angle. So basically, whether you use just the cam, whether you use the GoPro, you have the ability to have it completely protected. And then we've also got the Mobius application. Mobius, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of that camera frame, Mobius. And this essentially fits something like this. Just one bolt will go there, and it's that simple. And then on top of that, actually this is used in cooperation with this plate. So this plate, this is for GoPro. We would replace this with this instead, which would mount. Let me turn it this way, maybe we will see better. And the way it mounts is simple. It will go like this with this cam plate into it, like so. And then you can have the small cam at the bottom and the Mobius on top. So essentially we've got options for this, for mounting every camera that's commonly used for FPV application or just onboard recording cameras. Whether it's a GoPro, a small cam, a Mobius, you can use any of the two together. And you can also actually, I guess you could also use a Mobius and the GoPro together if you wanted to. So that would actually work too. You could do that. So yeah, it's very versatile in terms of mounting a camera to this. Of course, I would think that if you only use a small cam, that would be the lightest application, followed with the Mobius, and then with the heaviest with the GoPro. What else is cool about this model? This is something that I'm sure Andrew doesn't like me too much about, because when he designs, he really goes in depth trying to, to keep the weight down as much as he can. And some of the constraints I put on him with this design is that I said I want to use massive booms. I want to use 20mm booms. A model this size usually will use 12mm booms, so we're almost twice that size now. We're like oversized. And so I said I want to use this. And of course, once you use the bigger booms, you're looking at using bigger clamps. It adds more weight. And this is something that Andrew has to really work hard to compensate for. And then on top of that, I said, I want it to look cool, and I want to have some really massive standoffs on there to keep the vertical plates on there as strong as possible. And then, because I want to make these lifetime warranty, and I figured at the length that they are, if we went too small, when you crash, they would bend. And perhaps if that bends, then the carbon fiber can get damaged. So I wanted to go very beefy on this. And so that's what we're using with the big custom M4 aluminum thumb screws. And they mount, as you can see. Total of 5 of them holds this together. And if someone wanted to, you can put a 6th one here. You can even put a 7th one over here. And depending on your application, you could even put a 9th one over there, or you could just pick where you want to add one. But the way we're assembling it is with 5 of them. We feel it's strong enough. It really holds everything on there really tight. so adding more on there would perhaps be unnecessary weight. That's that. What else did I want to talk about? Talked about the camera, the booms, the clamps. Oh yes, there's another very cool feature about that. Over here we've got only 4 screws there. Those are dual plates, I guess top dirty plates. And then all you do is remove these 2 screws. That's what you want to do. And then you simply slide the plate back, pull it off, and there's your electronics. In this case, I'm using a mullet flight controller with mini distribution board, step-down regulator, pull-loose step-down regulator. And yeah, that's a pretty straightforward build here. And then when you're done, if you need to do anything in there, you just pop that back on there. Put your 2 screws back on there, and that's it, you're done. So this is very, very nice. And it's actually something that I'm quite happy about. But I thought perhaps there's a way to make this a little bit lighter, so we may end up revising this a little bit later. It's one of the things I mentioned I'd like to perhaps revise on future editions. And then one last point I'm going to talk about today is the way we insulate the camera of vibration from basically the dirty section of the frame. And what we're doing is we're using 4 bobbins. Basically it's designed to use 4 bobbins, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, as you can see there. And these designs again are custom designed by Andrew, and they're designed to handle more strength for an application where instead of the bobbin being used like the normally used, it's actually used on the vertical plate, right? And so it needs to be able to withstand the weight from the side. And so he went ahead and designed those, and I had them sampled, and it was, again, first go. They work perfectly. They do had a lot more strength by design than the normal bobbins do, and they're a little bit stiffer. And they're the guys who for the guys who made some jokes about the bobbins and the top plate, trying to get that through. Well, you might not like them very much. They're a bit harder to work for, but the way once they're on there, they do, in my opinion, they do a better job. And so what we've got here essentially is the entire front here section where all the cameras are installed. They're completely insulated by 4 of these bobbins, and then of course we got the tilt mechanism there. So it's brilliant the way it's designed. I think it's very, very nice. And I opened this up earlier here. The amount of space we've got in here is massive. I didn't tidy much up here, just got the wires sitting there, and my receiver, I just dropped it in there. There's so much space. So perhaps again in future revision we may relook at improving this, some of these things. You know, this is what the design process is, guys. You can't just, you know, design something. We can't stop. We always need to get better. That's why we got Rev 1 and Rev 2 and Rev 3. But frankly, with this, I'm very happy with this, and I test flown it now. There's so much power to it that, you know, I think a lot of guys will like this. Now I think that you know, maybe one last point I will make. I think that the guys who are into full-on 250 racing, this might not be for them, might not be the demographic exactly for that. Guys who are after a very, very beautiful model that is got state-of-the-art design in terms of quadcopters are concerned, with full-on customized parts from top to bottom, and something that's going to fly well and that's backed up by a lifetime warranty. I mean, what's not to love? Look at this thing. It's just gorgeous. So that's it for this video, guys. I will make another video where I'm going to demonstrate quick flight using 3S and 4S battery and show you the difference. And yeah, let us know what you think. Thank you. Cheers.